The factory hummed with quiet efficiency, the scent of vanilla and chocolate pudding powder lingering in the air. On the surface, the Dr. Oetker company was the picture of wholesome German domesticity, providing the essential baking powders and dessert mixes that brought joy to countless homes. But behind the glossy product packaging lay a story of ambition, collaboration, and dark alliances, an untold chapter of Germany's most beloved baking empire during the era of the Third Reich. In 1933, as the shadow of the swastika spread across Germany, Richard Kaselowski strode confidently into the company headquarters in Bielefeld. The son-in-law of Dr. August Oetker's widow, Kaselowski, wasn't just a businessman. He was a zealot. He saw the rise of Adolf Hitler not as a warning, but as an opportunity, a chance to align his business with a regime that promised order, power, and, most importantly, profit. Under Kaselowski's leadership, the company became more than just a food manufacturer. It became a model of Nazi Germany's ideals. The advertising proudly showcased Dr. Oetker products as essential tools for the ideal German housewife, a loyal servant to her family in the Reich. But this carefully curated image masked the unsettling truth: Dr. Oetker was thriving in a system fueled by theft, coercion, and oppression. The Kaselowski-Oetker family wasn't just complicit, they were deeply entangled in the regime. Richard Kaselowski himself cultivated a close friendship with Heinrich Himmler, the architect of the Holocaust. Kaselowski's devotion to the cause wasn't just professional, it was personal. He saw his role as more than a businessman. He was a patriot, contributing to what he believed was Germany's glorious destiny. But what was their strategy? How did Dr. Oetker profit from his close relationship to the Nazi Party, and what was his business strategy during these dark times? During the Nazi era, Dr. Oetker grew significantly as a business. Led by Richard Kaselowski, the company aligned itself closely with the regime, benefiting from policies that aimed to make Germany economically self-sufficient. In 1937, it was even recognized as a model company under National Socialism. Exact financial details from that time are hard to come by, but it's clear the company thrived. Dr. Oetker became a brand that embodied reliability and German efficiency, securing a steady market even as war loomed on the horizon. But this wasn't just smart marketing, it was deeply political. The company openly supported National Socialist ideals and benefited from government policies that prioritized companies in line with Nazi goals. In 1937, Dr. Oetker was officially recognized as a model National Socialist enterprise, a badge of honor that further cemented its place in the Nazi economy. Behind the scenes, the business thrived on wartime contracts and steady demand for affordable, shelf-stable food products. While much of Europe was plunged into chaos, Dr. Oetker remained a well-oiled machine, quietly growing its empire while the world burned around it. It was a strategy built on loyalty to the regime, seizing opportunities in a controlled economy, and staying indispensable to German households. The cost, a legacy tied forever to one of history's darkest chapters. Richard Kaselowski had 5 key strategies. 1. Leveraging wartime necessities. Dr. Oetker's products, like baking powder, pudding powders, and other shelf-stable goods, were in high demand during the war. These products aligned with the regime's autarky, self-sufficiency goals, as they could be produced using domestically sourced materials. This made the company a valuable asset in supporting the German war economy. 2. Strong political ties. Under Richard Kaselowski's leadership, Dr. Oetker cultivated a close relationship with the Nazi government. By adhering to Nazi economic and social policies, the company ensured preferential treatment, access to resources, and protection during the turbulent war years. 3. Minimal diversification. While some companies diversified to produce war-related materials, Dr. Oetker stuck to its core products. This focus on food and household goods ensured steady demand from both the civilian population and military supply chains. 4. Exploitation of forced labor. Like many German companies of the time, Dr. Oetker reportedly utilized capitalizing on the regime's use of prisoners and enslaved workers to sustain industries during the war. 5. Nationalist branding. The company framed its products as patriotic staples that supported the German way of life. This clever branding further ingrained Dr. Oetker into the fabric of German society, even during the hardships of war. However, the end of the war brought dramatic consequences that disrupted its business and reputation. As the war progressed, Germany's economy began to crumble under the weight of Allied bombings and resource shortages. Factories, transportation networks, and infrastructure were decimated, severely impacting the production and distribution of goods. Dr. Oetker's reliance on domestic raw materials became a liability as resources like sugar, flour, and packaging dwindled in availability. In 1944, Richard Kaselowski, the company's influential leader and architect of its wartime strategy, was killed in an Allied bombing raid. His death left a leadership void at a time when the company desperately needed stability and direction. The loss was not just personal, but strategic, as Kaselowski's close ties to the Nazi regime and his business acumen had been central to While Dr. Oetker did not experience a catastrophic collapse during the war itself, the company emerged from the conflict deeply scarred. The loss of its leadership, the collapse of the economy, and its ties to the Nazi regime created significant hurdles for the post-war years. Under the leadership of Rudolf August Oetker, the founder's grandson, the company eventually rebuilt and diversified, but the shadow of its wartime actions persisted for decades. This period marked not a clean downfall, but the beginning of a painful reckoning and a long road to redemption.